The day Timmy heard the words, "Who are you, please?" something inside him cracked before the car ever touched his body. He was already on his knees in the red dust of the construction site, his yellow safety gloves dark with cement, his old shirt stuck to his back with sweat. The other laborers had stopped work. One man still held a shovel in mid-air. Another stood frozen beside a pile of sharp sand. Everybody was looking, and Timmy, a full-grown man who had carried blocks under the hot Lagos sun for years, was kneeling like a child and shaking. "Rose," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Rose, it's me." But the woman standing in front of him did not look like the Rose he used to know under the mango tree in their village. This Rose wore a crisp white suit that looked too clean for the dusty place. Her heels sank slightly into the ground each time she shifted her weight. One hand held a black designer bag, the other hand rested on the door of a shiny black Range Rover. Her face was beautiful, yes, but hard now, polished, distant, like she had practiced forgetting. Timmy lifted both hands, almost as if he wanted to hold her face and wake her from a dream. Tears rolled down his cheeks. "My love, your number stopped going through after graduation. I looked for you everywhere. I thought maybe you lost your phone. I thought—" Rose's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me," she said, calm and cold. "Who are you, please? Have we met before?" That was the moment. Not when the workers began murmuring, not when someone laughed nervously from the back, not even when Timmy's knees hit the ground fully. No, it was that one sentence. I spoken like he was dust on her shoe, that broke him open. And yet, just a few hours earlier, Timmy had woken up believing the day might become one of the happiest days of his life. That morning had started before sunrise in Ibejuleke. Timmy lived in a small face-me-I-face-you room behind a welding shop, the kind of place where every cough, every crying baby, every quarrel over kerosene entered your ears whether you liked it or not. He slept on a thin mattress laid on the floor. His alarm was not a phone tone. It was the sound of the mosque loudspeaker in the distance, mixed with the shouting of the woman next door who sold akara by 5:30 a.m. He sat up slowly, rubbing his eyes. His body ached in the same old places, his back, his shoulders, the deep center of his palms. His fingers had become rough from years of carrying cement pans and pushing wheelbarrows. Sometimes he joked that even if he touched flower petals, they would turn into sand. He smiled at that thought for a second. Then his eyes moved to the small plastic container near the wall where he kept old things that mattered. On top was Rose's graduation photo. He had wrapped it in nylon so the corners would not spoil. Rose was wearing a black gown in the picture, holding her certificate, smiling that bright smile he used to think could soften any bad day. He had not seen her in 2 years, 2 long years of calling a number that kept saying it was switched off. 2 years of asking old classmates, neighbors, church people, anybody who might know where she had gone after school. Nothing. Still, and Timmy never stopped believing there had to be a reason. He picked up the photo and wiped dust from it with the edge of his shirt. "You will see," he told the picture softly. "One day you will explain everything and I will laugh for doubting you." He said that often. Not because he was a fool, because hope can make a man behave like one. By 6:30 a.m., he was already hanging from the back of a rattling pickup van with other laborers heading to the site at Chevron Extension. The air smelled of diesel, wet earth and morning smoke from roadside food sellers. Someone beside him chewed kola nut. Another man complained about the cost of Gary in the market. Timmy did not join in. He was thinking about the dream he had the night before. In it, Rose wore her graduation gown again, but this time she turned, smiled and said, "Aunt, I'm coming home." When they reached the site, work began immediately. Mix cement, carry blocks, lift rods, fetch water, start again. The house they were building was massive. 3 floors, wide balconies, tall columns, imported tiles still inside their cartons. The kind of building people slowed down to stare at from the road. One of the older laborers, Baba Saliu, whistled low as he looked around. "Whoever owns this place has real money," he said. Timmy adjusted the pan of cement on his head. "Maybe one big politician." "Or oil money," another man replied. "These Lekki people don't build small." Timmy laughed weakly and kept moving. By noon the sun was fierce, the dust clung to sweat. His gloves were wet inside, He had just bent to lift another bag of cement when one of the site supervisors shouted from the gate, "Oya! It's a clear road. Madam is here. Owner Don come." The workers stirred at once. Some straightened up, some wiped their hands, a few moved aside, curious. Timmy only looked up because everybody else did. A black Range Rover rolled in slowly, clean and shining, like it had come from another world. The tires barely seemed to touch the ground. The gate man rushed forward. The supervisor began smiling too much. Timmy stared. The driver stepped out first, then opened the back door. A woman in white heels came down. At first, Timmy thought the heat was playing games with his eyes. Then she turned slightly, and his heart slammed so hard in his chest that he nearly dropped the cement bag. Rose. Rose. His Rose. For one wild moment, joy rushed through him so fast it felt painful. He forgot the dust on his body, the cement on his hands, on the sweat under his torn shirt. He forgot every lonely evening and every unanswered call. He forgot the warnings. He only remembered the girl from years ago, sitting under a neem tree with exercise books on her lap, saying, "Timmy, if I ever make it, I will never forget you." Never. He dropped what was in his hand and ran forward. Rose. A few workers turned. Rose looked toward the voice, and her expression changed. Not to joy, not to shock, but to the careful stillness of someone quickly doing a calculation. Timmy got closer, smiling through tears already gathering in his eyes. "My love," he said, breathless, "what happened?" "Your number hasn't been reachable since you graduated. I searched everywhere. I—" Rose took one slow look at his torn shirt, his muddy jeans, his gloves, his cracked boots. Then she looked straight into his face. "Who are you, please?" she asked. The smile on Timmy's face died at once. He blinked. "Rose. Have we met before?" The site went silent. Timmy looked around as if someone would explain the joke to him. Nobody did. He stepped closer, voice trembling now. "Rose, stop this. It's me, Timmy. You're Timmy. I worked at different sites to send you to school. I paid your fees. I sent money for your hostel. Rose, look at me well." For a second, just a second, something flickered in her eyes. Guilt, fear, shame. But it vanished fast. "I think this man is confused," she said, turning slightly toward the supervisor. "Please remove him and make sure he does not come near me again." Timmy's mouth fell open. Then slowly, like his bones could no longer carry the weight of what he had heard, he dropped to his knees in the dust. "Rose," he cried, "don't do this to me." His voice broke so loudly that even the men at the far end of the site turned. He lifted both hands, tears running freely now. "This is the work I do to sponsor your education. Look at my hands. Look at me. Rose, please." Rose's face tightened. "Take him away." The supervisor grabbed Timmy by the arm. Timmy fought to stay near her. "Rose, tell them who I am." But Rose had already turned toward the house, and the men dragging Timmy backward were stronger than grief. He stumbled, twisted, and looked up one last time at the woman he had built his life around. She didn't turn back. They pushed him through the gate, out to the roadside, out like trash. Timmy stood there in shock, dust on his knees, tears on his face, staring through the gate bars as the world around him blurred. Then, without knowing where he was stepping, he turned toward the main road. A horn blasted, tires screamed. And before anyone could shout his name, a speeding vehicle flew toward him and hit him. The sound came before the pain, a sharp, violent crash like metal slamming into bone, like the world itself snapping in two. Then silence. For a second, everything froze. Even the wind seemed to pause. Timmy's body lay twisted on the hot tar, one arm stretched out like he was still reaching for something, or someone. His old boot had come off and landed a few feet away. The cement dust on his clothes mixed with blood, forming a strange grey-red paste that slowly spread beneath him. Then the noise returned. "Ah! Jesus! Driver! He didn't even stop. Carry him quickly." The laborers rushed out from the construction site. Some ran barefoot, others dropped their tools mid-task. Baba Saliu was the first to reach him. He knelt down, breathing hard, his hands shaking as he tried to lift Timmy's head. Timmy, can you hear me?" Timmy's eyes fluttered slightly, his lips moved, but no sound came out. A thin line of blood slipped from the side of his mouth. "Water! Bring water!" someone shouted. "No, don't move him too much," another voice warned. The road began to gather people, as it always did in Lagos. Bystanders formed a loose circle. Some stared with wide eyes, others whispered, a few brought out their phones. And just beyond the gate, Rose stood frozen. For the first time since Timmy had spoken her name, her heart beat loudly enough for her to hear it. Thump, thump, thump. She hadn't planned for this. She hadn't planned for anything beyond that moment, beyond pushing him away, beyond pretending he never existed. She had told herself it was necessary, that it was the only way to protect the life she had built. But now he was lying on the road, dying, because of her. Her fingers tightened around her handbag. Her breathing grew uneven. "No," she whispered under her breath. "No, this wasn't supposed to happen." One of the laborers ran toward her, panting. "Madam, the man you sent out, he has been hit by a car. He is dying." Rose's chest tightened. For a moment she almost said nothing, almost turned away, and almost walked back into her SUV and told herself it had nothing to do with her. But something inside her refused. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the faint, buried memory of a boy who once stood in the rain just to hand her money for her school fees. "Bring him," she said suddenly, her voice sharper than she expected. "Bring him inside the car." The workers hesitated. "You heard me," she snapped. "Now!" They rushed back to the road. Carefully, awkwardly, they lifted Timmy. His body felt too loose, like something inside him had already started to give way. His head rolled slightly to the side. His breathing was shallow, uneven, like each breath was a struggle. "Easy, easy," Baba Saliu muttered. They carried him into the compound and gently placed him in the back seat of the SUV. Rose stood by the door, on watching. For the first time, she allowed herself to really look at him. His face was pale under the dust. His lips were dry. His hands, those same hands she had once held, were now trembling slightly, covered in cuts and hardened skin. Her throat tightened. "Drive," she told the driver, her voice lower now. "Fast." The car sped out of the gate. Inside the moving SUV, time felt strange. The world outside blurred into colors, cars, buildings, people, but inside everything slowed down. Rose sat beside Timmy. She didn't touch him at first, she just watched. His chest rose, then fell, then paused longer than it should. "Stay with me," she whispered suddenly, surprising herself. She glanced at the driver. "Faster!" The driver pressed harder on the accelerator. Rose looked back at Timmy. Her fingers moved slowly, hesitantly, until they hovered just above his hand. Then gently she touched him. His skin was warm, but fading. A tear slipped down her cheek before she could stop it. "I didn't wish you dead," she whispered, her voice shaking. I just couldn't." Her words trailed off, because deep down she knew exactly what she had done. The hospital doors burst open as they arrived. "Emergency!" the driver shouted. Nurses rushed forward with a stretcher. "What happened?" "Accident victim," Baba Saliu answered, who had followed on a bike. They transferred Timmy quickly onto the stretcher. His arm fell loosely to the side. Rose flinched. "Pulse is weak," a nurse said. "Get him to the ER now." They pushed him away fast, disappearing through double doors. And just like that, Rose was left standing alone. Minutes passed, or maybe it was hours. She couldn't tell. She sat in the waiting area, her legs crossed tightly, her hands clasped together so hard her knuckles turned pale. Her expensive heels tapped lightly against the floor, a nervous rhythm she couldn't control. People walked past her, voices came and went. But everything felt distant, like she was underwater. Her mind replayed the scene again and again. "Who are you, please?" The words echoed louder each time. She shut her eyes. "God," she whispered, "please don't let him die." It shocked her, that prayer, because just hours ago she had been more worried about embarrassment than anything else. Now nothing else mattered. "I can't marry him," she added quickly, almost defensively. But don't let him die. "I please," her voice cracked. A nurse walked past, then paused. You brought the accident victim, she asked. Rose nodded. He's in critical condition, the nurse said gently. The doctors are trying. Rose swallowed hard. Will he survive? The nurse hesitated, then gave the kind of answer that meant we don't know. We're doing our best. And walked away. Rose leaned back slowly in her chair, her eyes stared at nothing. Her mind, finally, went somewhere she had avoided for 2 years. Back to the beginning. To a time when Timmy was not a stranger, but everything. To the nights he skipped meals so she could eat. To the days he worked 2 sites just to send her extra money. To the promises she made, promises she had broken without even saying goodbye. Her lips trembled. I didn't think it would end like this, she whispered. And just then, a loud voice broke through the hallway. Doctor, we're losing him. Rose's head snapped up. Her heart jumped into her throat. The doors to the emergency room swung open briefly, and she caught a glimpse. Timmy, still, unmoving, machines surrounding him, doctors rushing. Then the doors slammed shut again. Rose stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak, her breathing shallow, because for the first time, she realized something she had been running from. If Timmy died, there would be no fixing this. No explanation, no second chance, only silence. Forever. And inside that room, Timmy's fingers twitched slightly, as if he was trying, with the last strength he had left, to hold on or to let go. The first thing Timmy felt was pain, not sharp. Not sudden, but deep, heavy, like his whole body had been crushed under something too big to lift. Then came the sound. Beep, beep, beep. Slow, uneven. He tried to open his eyes. At first, nothing happened. Then a small flicker. Light. White light. Blurred shapes. Voices. He's responding. Keep monitoring. Call the doctor. Everything felt far away, like he was inside water, trying to hear people talking from the surface. Timmy's lips moved, dry, cracked. Rose. The name escaped like a broken whisper. A nurse leaned closer. He's trying to speak. Moments later, a doctor stepped in. Mister, can you hear me? You were in an accident. You're in the hospital. Try not to move. Timmy didn't understand everything, but he understood one thing. Rose. His eyes searched the room weakly, and then he saw her. Haki standing by the door, still, quiet, watching him. For a second, just a second. Something like relief passed through his face. He was alive, and she was there. Maybe everything would still make sense. Maybe she would explain. Maybe she would laugh and say it was all a mistake. Maybe she would call him my love again. His lips trembled into something close to a smile. Rose didn't move immediately. Her feet felt heavy. Like stepping closer meant stepping into something she could no longer escape. The doctor glanced at her. He's asking for you. That was enough. Slowly, she walked toward the bed. Each step felt louder than it should. Each step felt like a decision. She stopped beside him. Up close, he looked worse, much worse. Bruises had formed around his face, a bandage wrapped across his head. His chest rose with effort, like breathing itself had become work. His eyes found hers again, still soft, still hopeful, still trusting. That made it harder, much harder. Rose, he said again, his voice weak, barely there. What happened? She swallowed, her throat felt tight. You had an accident, she said softly. Timmy blinked slowly, then his brows pulled together slightly, like he was trying to remember. And then it came back. The sight, the car, her voice. Who are you, please? His chest rose sharply, a faint pain crossed his face, not from the injury, but from memory. Why? He asked. Just one word, but it carried everything. Why did you pretend? Why did you deny me? Why did you throw me away? Rose looked down for a moment. She couldn't hold his eyes. Not yet. Not when they still looked at her like she mattered. You shouldn't talk too much, she said quietly. But Timmy shook his head slightly. It hurt him to do it. But he did it anyway. Rose, tell me. His voice broke. What did I do wrong? The question hung in the air, simple, honest, heavy, and impossible to run from. Rose's fingers tightened around her bag, her nails pressed into the leather. She had imagined this moment before, in different ways. She had imagined running into him again one day, maybe at a distance, maybe in a place where she could pretend not to see him. But she had never imagined this. Him, lying here, broken, asking her gently, like she still owed him kindness. A tear slipped down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said, and that part, at least, was true. Timmy's eyes searched her face, confused, hurt. And then why? He didn't say it again, but it was there. In his silence, in the way his fingers twitched slightly on the bed, in the way his chest rose faster now. Rose took a small breath, and then she said it. The thing she had been holding back. The truth she had hidden behind pride, fear, and shame. "We can't marry." Timmy blinked, once, slow, as if he didn't hear well. "We don't belong to the same class anymore." The words came out steady, too steady, like something rehearsed. "I am a graduate now. I have a different life, different people, different expectations." She paused, her voice dropped lower. "I know I promised you forever after school." Another tear slipped down. This time she didn't wipe it. "But I can't marry you again." Silence, real silence, not the kind filled with noise, and the kind that swallows everything. Timmy stared at her. His eyes did not blink, did not move. It was like something inside him was trying to understand, but couldn't. Because how do you understand this? How do you understand that the person you gave everything to now says you are not enough? Not because you failed, not because you changed, but because you stayed the same. His lips parted slightly. No words came out, just air. Then his chest tightened. A sound escaped him, not a full cry, not a shout, something in between. "Ah!" It was pain, but not from the accident. From her, from the truth, from the finality in her voice. Tears rolled down the sides of his face, sliding into his ears. "Rose," he whispered again, weaker now. I thought—" He couldn't finish. Because what was there to say? And that he believed her, that he trusted her, that he built his whole future around her promise. His breathing grew uneven. The machine beside him began to beep faster. "Sir, calm down," a nurse said, stepping closer, but Timmy wasn't listening anymore. His eyes were still locked on Rose, desperate, broken, searching for something, anything, a lie, a correction, a just kidding. But Rose didn't say anything else. She just stood there, crying quietly, and that silence told him everything. Then suddenly, Timmy's body jerked slightly, his hand gripped the sheet weakly. "Ah!" he cried out louder this time. The pain shot through him, not just in his chest, but everywhere. The machine beeped wildly now. "Doctor!" the nurse shouted. "His vitals are dropping." Doctors rushed in quickly. "Dad, step back," one of them said firmly. Rose stumbled backward, her heart racing. Timmy's eyes were still open, still looking at her, even as they began to lose focus. His lips moved one last time, so soft, she almost didn't hear it. "Why?" And then, the line on the monitor stretched, long, flat, steady, B-A-A-A-A. "No pulse," a doctor said. "Start CPR." They pressed on his chest, once, twice, again. "Come on, stay with us." But Timmy was already slipping, and Rose stood there, frozen, as the only man who had ever truly loved her began to fade away. Clear. Timmy's body jerked slightly as the shock hit him. The machine beeped again, not steady, not normal, but something. Again, the doctor ordered, "Clear." Another shock. Rose stood against the wall, her back pressed flat, her fingers clutching the edge of a metal tray so tightly it rattled. Her ears rang, her chest hurt, everything felt unreal, like she was watching a movie she couldn't pause. "Come on," one nurse whispered under her breath. Don't go. For a second, just a second, the machine flickered. A weak, uneven line appeared. "Pulse is back," someone shouted. Rose's breath caught. Hope rose so fast it scared her. He's coming back, she whispered, but the doctor's face remained tight. Keep monitoring. He's not stable. Timmy's chest rose again. Barely. His fingers twitched, slow, weak, but alive. Rose covered her mouth. Tears streamed down her face freely now. Thank you, God, she whispered, but even as she said it, something inside her knew this was not over. Hours passed. The emergency room turned quiet again. Machines hummed softly, footsteps faded in and out, and Timmy lay still, too still. Rose sat beside his bed now, no bag in her hand, no pride on her face, just silence and guilt. She watched him breathe, in, out, slow, heavy. Each breath looked like a fight, and each time he breathed out, she wondered, will there be another one? Her mind would not rest. It kept dragging her back. Back to the village, back to the boy who used to walk miles just to see her. Back to the first time he gave her money for school. She had laughed then. Timmy, where did you get this? He had smiled. Don't worry, I will always find a way. And he did. He always did. Until she stopped looking back. The door opened softly. A doctor stepped in. Rose stood up quickly. Doctor, how is he? The doctor paused. Not long. But long enough. He's critical, he said. We managed to bring him back temporarily, but his internal injuries are severe. He lost a lot of blood. His body is weak. Rose's heart dropped. But he will survive, right? The doctor looked at her carefully, then shook his head slowly. We're trying, but you should prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Those words didn't feel real. Prepare for what? For loss. For death. For regret that cannot be undone. Rose nodded slowly, but inside, everything was shaking. Later that night, the hospital grew quieter. Visitors had gone, lights dimmed, even the nurses spoke in softer voices. Rose sat alone in the room with Timmy, just the two of them, no noise, no distraction. Just the sound of the machine. Beep. Beep. Slower now, weaker. She leaned forward slightly. And Timmy, she whispered. No response. Her fingers moved again. This time she held his hand, really held it. Like she should have done years ago. Like she used to do. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she said, her voice trembling. I thought I was doing the right thing. Her tears dropped onto his hand, warm, soft. I was scared, she admitted, scared of what people would say, scared of living a life I didn't imagine anymore, scared that I would regret staying. Her voice broke. So I chose myself. She paused, then shook her head slowly. No, I chose pride. Silence answered her. Timmy didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even react. And somehow, that silence hurt more than anything. Then, his fingers moved, slight, barely there, but she felt it. Her head snapped up. Timmy, his eyes opened slowly, very slowly, like lifting something heavy. They found her again, not strong, not bright, but aware, alive. Rose, he whispered, her breath caught. I'm here, she said quickly, leaning closer. I'm here. His lips trembled. His voice was weaker than before, almost gone. I tried. She shook her head immediately. No, don't talk. Please don't. I tried, he repeated, forcing the words out, his eyes filled with tears. I wanted to make you proud. Rose's chest tightened painfully. You did, she said quickly, crying now. You did. Timmy, you did more than enough. But he shook his head slightly. Even that small movement cost him. I thought, when you come back, we will build together. His voice cracked. I waited. Each word felt like a knife. I waited for you. Rose sobbed openly now. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Timmy looked at her, not angry, not bitter, just tired. So tired. Then slowly, very slowly, he said the words that would never leave her. Was I not enough? Rose froze, her heart shattered. No, no, Timmy, she cried. You were enough. You were everything. I was the one who failed. I was the one who changed. But the words came too late, because Timmy was already slipping. His breathing became slower. His grip on her hand weakened. His eyes began to lose focus. "Doctor!" she shouted, panic rising. "Doctor!" Footsteps rushed in. Voices filled the room. Vitals dropping again. "Prepare." But Timmy's eyes never left her, even as they faded, even as the world around him blurred. His lips moved one last time, so soft, almost like a breath. "My love." Then the machine flattened again. "Isbia." This time, it didn't come back. Time of death. The doctor's voice sounded distant. 11:47 p.m. Rose didn't hear the rest. She stood there, still holding his hand. Even when it grew cold, even when the nurses gently tried to move her away. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." But it was already done. Timmy, the man who gave everything, the man who waited, the man who loved without conditions, was gone. Days later, the burial took place in the village. The sky was grey, heavy, like it too carried something it couldn't release. People gathered quietly. Whispers moved through the crowd. "Nah, that girl. She denied him. See how life ended." Rose stood at a distance, dressed in black. No makeup, no pride, just emptiness. As they lowered Timmy into the ground, her knees almost gave way. Because now there was no hospital, no second chance, no "I'm sorry" that could reach him. Only silence, and earth covering everything he had been. Weeks passed, then months, and slowly, everything she built began to fall apart. Her job, gone. Her house project, sold halfway. Her money, finished faster than she expected. Then one night, rain fell heavily. Her car lost control on a slippery road, and the world spun. Metal crushed, glass shattered, darkness swallowed everything. When she woke up, she was not the same. When Rose woke up, she didn't feel her leg. At first, she thought it was just numb, like when you sit too long and your foot falls asleep. She tried to move it. Nothing. She tried again. Still nothing. Her heart began to race. "Doctor," she called weakly. A nurse rushed in. "You're awake," she said gently. "My leg," Rose whispered. "I can't feel my leg." The nurse paused, just for a moment. But that moment said everything. Rose's chest tightened. "Where is my leg?" she asked, her voice shaking now. The doctor stepped in slowly. "Miss Rose," he began carefully, "you were involved in a serious accident. The damage to your left leg was severe. We tried to save it, but no," Rose whispered. Her head shook slowly. "No, no." "I'm sorry," the doctor finished, and just like that, the last piece of the life she knew was gone. The days that followed were not loud. There was no shouting, no dramatic crying, just silence. A heavy, crushing silence. Rose lay on the hospital bed, staring at the ceiling most of the time. The white paint had a small crack near the corner. She stared at it for hours. Sometimes she imagined it spreading, like something breaking slowly, inside her. Visitors came at first, colleagues, friends, people who used to call her Madam. They stood by her bed. They spoke soft words. "We thank God for your life. You will be fine. Stay strong." But their eyes said something else, something like distance, something like discomfort. And slowly, they stopped coming, one by one, until the room became quiet again. After she was discharged, reality came harder. Her job sent a message, short, cold. "We regret to inform you." She read it twice, then dropped the phone. Her house project, the one she used to dream about, the one she stood proudly beside when construction started, she sold it. Not because she wanted to, because she had no choice. Medical bills, living costs, no income. Everything began to disappear, just like that. Months passed, and Rose found herself somewhere she had never imagined. On the roadside, sitting on a small wooden stool. One crutch beside her, a small nylon bag in front of her. People walked past, cars moved, life continued, and she stretched out her hand. "Please, help." Her voice was soft, almost ashamed. Sometimes people dropped coins, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they looked at her, sometimes they didn't. But every time, every single time, she felt it, the weight, the memory, the voice. Was I not enough? One afternoon, the sun was hot, too hot. Rose adjusted her wrapper slightly and wiped sweat from her face. A small boy stopped in front of her, maybe 9 years old. He looked at her curiously, then at her missing leg, then back at her face. Auntie," he said softly, "what happened to you?" Rose smiled faintly, a sad, broken smile. "Life," she answered. The boy didn't understand, but he nodded anyway. Then he reached into his pocket and brought out a small coin. He dropped it into her nylon bag. "God will help you," he said, and ran off. Rose watched him go, her eyes filled with tears. Because once, she had been the one people looked up to. Once, she had been the one with dreams, with plans, with pride. And now, she was here. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat outside the small place she now called home, a single room with a leaking roof and cracked walls. Rain fell lightly, tap, tap, tap. She looked up at the sky, and for the first time, she spoke out loud. "Timmy." Her voice broke immediately. "I understand now." Tears streamed down her face. "I understand everything now." Her chest tightened. "I thought I was choosing a better life. I thought I was moving forward." She shook her head slowly. "But I was running away. Away from love. Away from loyalty. Away from the one person who saw me before the world did." Her voice softened. "I lost everything, Timmy. Everything." She paused, then whispered, "And I deserved it." Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and everywhere she went, it was the same message. Prayer houses, churches, even small roadside prophets. They all said it. Different words, same meaning. You hurt someone who gave you everything. You broke a heart that was pure. That kind of pain, it doesn't just go away. Rose stopped asking after a while, because deep down, she already knew nothing would ever be the same again. One evening, as the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and gold, Rose sat quietly by the roadside, watching people go home, watching life move, and she whispered to herself, "I would have loved him." Her voice cracked. "I would have stayed." Tears rolled down slowly, but I was too late. She closed her eyes, and for a moment she saw him again. Not on the hospital bed, not on the road, but smiling, standing under that old tree, holding her hand, calling her my love. Her chest tightened. A soft sob escaped her lips. "I lost the only person who truly loved me," she whispered, "and now I will live with that forever." That kind of mindset can be powerful, but also dangerous, because when the person you give everything to walks away, you are left with nothing. And sometimes, you don't know how to live after that. Rose changed, not suddenly, not overnight, but slowly. Exposure, education, new environment. She began to see life differently, and instead of balancing her past with her present, she rejected it. Not because Timmy was not enough, but because she became someone who no longer valued what he gave. And when guilt finally came, it came too late. Final thought. Sometimes, the people who stand with you when you have nothing are the ones you should never lose, because when everything else fades, they are the only ones who remain. And if you lose them, you may spend the rest of your life trying to understand why. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.